Part 1. The Lost Knowledge of Greece and the Rise of Islam. Imagine a world where the voices of Aristotle, Plato, and Hippocrates had gone silent, their ideas buried under centuries of war, collapse, and chaos. When the Western Roman Empire fell in the 5th century, Europe entered what historians later called the Dark Ages. Libraries burned. Scholars disappeared. Science became superstition. The light of reason, once shining in Athens and Alexandria, nearly faded away. But far to the east, a new civilization was rising, one that would revive and transform the ancient world's wisdom. The birth of an intellectual empire. In the 7th century, Islam emerged in the Arabian Peninsula, a faith that not only unified tribes, but also emphasized learning and reflection. The Quran itself urged believers to observe, think, and seek knowledge. As the Islamic Empire expanded across Persia, Syria, and Egypt, Muslim leaders encountered vast libraries filled with Greek, Persian, and Indian manuscripts. Instead of destroying them, they preserved and valued them. By the 8th century, the new capital, Baghdad, became the heart of an intellectual revolution. Caliphs like Harun al-Rashid and his son al-Mamun dreamed of building a center where the knowledge of every civilization could be gathered, translated, and advanced. That dream became reality. The House of Wisdom, Bayt al-Hikmah. The House of Wisdom, the first global research center. Baghdad's House of Wisdom wasn't just a library. It was the world's first research institute. It brought together scholars of all backgrounds, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Persian, and even Indian, to study under one roof. They translated works of Greek masters. Aristotle on logic and philosophy, Ptolemy on astronomy, Euclid on geometry, Galen and Hippocrates on medicine. The caliphs paid translators in gold. Literally, it's said that translators were rewarded with the book's weight in gold, showing just how sacred knowledge was to them. Among these scholars were giants like Hunayn ibn Ishaq, who translated medical texts and corrected Greek errors. Thabit ibn Qurra, who redefined geometry and motion. Al-Kindi, who merged Greek philosophy with Islamic theology, earning the title Philosopher of the Arabs. This golden institution became a symbol of what the Islamic world stood for, faith and reason walking hand in hand. While Europe was drowning in darkness, Baghdad shone like a beacon of enlightenment. Greek knowledge didn't just survive, it began to evolve, and soon Muslim scholars wouldn't only praise, RVE the past. They'd reshape the future of science itself. Part 2. From Translation to Transformation. Once the ancient Greek works were translated, Muslim thinkers didn't stop there. They asked new questions, tested old ideas, and made revolutionary discoveries. This was the moment knowledge turned into innovation. Mathematics, the language of the universe. Greek geometry laid the foundation, but Muslim scholars built entire new systems. Al-Khwarizmi, whose name gave us the word algorithm, wrote the Book of Restoration and Balancing, Kitab al-Jabr wal Muqabala. From this book, the word algebra was born. He combined Greek geometry with Indian numerals, creating a system that became the basis for modern mathematics, the same logic used in today's computers and coding. Another mathematician, Omar Khayyam, refined algebraic equations and developed new methods to solve cubic problems centuries before Europeans even heard of them. Astronomy, mapping the heavens. Greek astronomers like Ptolemy had mapped the stars, but Muslim scientists like al-Battani and Ibn Yunus refined those maps with precision instruments. They corrected errors in Ptolemy's calculations and discovered new celestial patterns. They built observatories, massive structures where astronomers measured planetary movement. Their discoveries laid the groundwork for later European astronomers like Copernicus, who would reshape our understanding of the cosmos, medicine, healing the body and the mind. Greek physicians believed in balancing the body's 4 humors. Muslim doctors respected this theory but challenged it through observation. Al-Razi, wrote about diseases like smallpox and measles, identifying them as separate illnesses for the first time. Ibn Sina Avicenna composed the Canon of Medicine, a 5-volume encyclopedia used in European universities for 600 years. He combined Greek medical philosophy with his own experiments, describing the circulatory system, mental health, and even surgical techniques, optics, physics, and the birth of the scientific method. Greek thinkers like Euclid believed eyes emitted rays that let us see, but Ibn al-Haytham disagreed. Through controlled experiments, he proved that light enters the eye, not the other way around. He also introduced the concept of hypothesis and experimentation, forming the basis of what we now call the scientific method, centuries before Galileo. Muslim scholars didn't just save Greek knowledge. They challenged it, expanded it, and transformed it into something new. Their discoveries in mathematics, medicine, astronomy, and optics would travel across continents. And soon, they spark a revolution in another part of the world, Europe. Part 3, from Baghdad to the Renaissance, the knowledge returns west. By the 11th century, the great centers of the Islamic Golden Age, Baghdad, Cairo, Córdoba, were overflowing with knowledge. But Europe was beginning to wake up. Trade, travel, and even conflict, like the Crusades, brought Europeans face to face with the intellectual power of the Muslim world, and what they saw amazed them: the Great Translation movement in Europe. When Muslim rule spread into Spain, cities like Toledo, Seville, and Córdoba became gateways of knowledge. European scholars traveled there to translate Arabic texts back into Latin. One of the most famous was Gerard of Cremona, who translated over 80 Arabic works, including Ptolemy's Almagest and Avicenna's Canon of Medicine. These translations reached universities across Europe, Paris, Bologna, and Oxford, where they became the foundation of medieval science. Muslim thinkers who inspired Europe. Names like Averroes, Ibn Rushd, and Avicenna, Ibn Sina, became known to European scholars. Averroes' commentaries on Aristotle deeply influenced Thomas Aquinas, shaping Western philosophy. European scientists built upon the methods of Ibn al-Haytham, using his experiments to develop optics and mechanics. Even Leonardo da Vinci studied Arabic manuscripts and diagrams, finding inspiration in the precise geometry and physics of Muslim scholars. A spiritual drive behind the knowledge. What fueled this explosion of learning wasn't just curiosity, it was faith. In Islam, seeking knowledge was seen as a sacred duty. The Prophet Muhammad said, "The ink of the scholar is more sacred than the blood of the martyr." This belief made science and spirituality coexist rather than clash. Muslim scholars saw the universe as a reflection of God's order. Studying it was an act of devotion. Legacy, the bridge between worlds. When the Renaissance began in Europe, much of its foundation was already built by Muslim hands. From the algorithms we use today to the medical principles still taught in universities, the influence of the Islamic Golden Age is everywhere. Without the scholars of Baghdad, Damascus, and Córdoba, much of Greek civilization would have vanished into the sands of time. Instead, it lived on, transformed, refined, and carried forward to shape our modern world. The story of how Muslim scholars saved ancient Greek knowledge isn't just about books or translations. It's about the power of curiosity, cooperation, and faith in reason. When cultures share wisdom instead of guarding it, they build bridges instead of walls. And those bridges, built over 1,000 years ago, are still carrying us forward today into the future of science, discovery, and understanding.